it works if you work it is incredibly problematic. No, that's not true. And if AA saves lives, AA takes lives. You have to claim both. Rest in peace to all of the people that me and you, that we both know, who unalive themselves in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous while being misguided, coerced into self-diagnosing as an alcoholic, which is not even a diagnosis. It's loaded language from Bill's Best Ideas from the 1930s, and brainwashed into the baloney that is happening inside the church basements. Hello, welcome to the Sobriety Bestie podcast. I am Kirsten, your hostess and your friend today on our Deprogramming AA series. And welcome back to the series, 8 Signs AA is Controlling Your Mind. Today we're on part 6, which is loaded language. This is a series where we are unpacking Dr. Robert J. Lifton's thought reform work, and he had identified 8 tactics that high control groups or full-blown cults use to mind control. Today we're talking about language, specifically how language is weaponized to shut down thinking and control identity. So what is loaded language? Once you hear about this, unless you've already heard about this, let us know in the comments your experience with the loaded language, by the way. You're going to see it everywhere. I see it everywhere, and it comes at me from the AAs, the dogma defenders, who come viciously attacking me in the comments. You'll notice all the loaded language. It's actually quite amusing once you can see it for what it is. So in mind control systems, the group creates its own jargon, slogans, and catchphrases to simplify complex issues, flatten nuance, and shape how you think. Over time, the language becomes a thought loop. It is a trap that has you to stop analyzing and start parroting. So people become, we become, I became inside AA because it was me. If we're blaming AA, we're blaming me because I was there, I did this. We become sheep or parrots. Sheep were following along with the groupthink, and parrots were literally just regurgitating what we've either heard in the rooms or what we've read in the book or what we've seen in the steps or whatever, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now let's look at how loaded language controls our thoughts. So number 1, alcoholic as identity. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. This is not a true statement. This is not a fact. This is a fact that this is heard a lot inside Alcoholics Anonymous, but it is not true in and of itself. In fact, you cannot even be diagnosed ever, even one time, as an alcoholic in the United States because it was never a diagnosis in the DSM. We call it alcohol use disorder. So once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic is loaded language, and the more you repeat something, the more you hear something, the more something is repeated, the more it starts to get imprinted into our minds and we believe it. It certainly doesn't mean it's true. Just because you believe it doesn't make it true. But often when we believe things, it makes it true for us. So we have fears, we have our behavior controlled, our whole worldview is shaped by what we hear repeatedly. So you're not a person who had a problem with alcohol, you're an alcoholic forever. That's why I love alcohol use disorder as a term. It's not person-first identity. It's not like I am an AUD, I am an alcohol use disorder, I am an alcoholic. I had alcohol use disorder. That's what's true for me. That's how I see it today, is I had alcohol use disorder. I have not had a problem with alcohol since 2009. I could probably get one again. I'm not sure. I haven't had a drink. We can't prophesize about the future, right? What might happen if I drink again. But there was a lot of evidence that drinking wasn't safe for me, so I don't drink. It does not mean that I am an alcoholic. No, that is highly coercive identity manipulation bullshit that Alcoholics Anonymous uses to lock people into this system at the identity level. So even if you haven't had a drink in 20 years, or in my case, 10 years at the time I was still in AA, or my case now, 15 years into my sobriety, you are still linked and identified with your, what they would call an illness or a spiritual malady or any of the other baloney that's just not exactly true at all. Literally, drinking becomes a behavior. And for some of us, it becomes a behavior that we're not able to stop without some sort of intervention, whether that was AA if we went there, or rehab, or therapist, or group support, or something. It's a habit that becomes very difficult to break for some of us. And so saying, I am Kirsten, I am an alcoholic, becomes a daily mantra. It just locks it in further. It becomes second nature. Let me know if this was you. Were you ever nervous about saying that? Like, out of context. Like I'd be at work and if we'd ever go around at work or any sort of environment where we go around introducing our names, I'd always be in my head, don't say alcoholic, don't say alcoholic, because it was so repetitive and it was so second nature. I was so used to being in a group of people and just if you're saying your name, hi, I'm Kirsten, I'm an alcoholic. I mean, obviously not at first. I was coerced into saying it the first time, which was pretty brutal. But yeah, AA's language locks us into an identity that keeps us tied to the program for life. Number 2, stinking thinking or dry drunk or any other terms. AA uses terms like stinking thinking or dry drunk or alcoholic thinking. These are literally all loaded language, made up terms that are unique to Alcoholics Anonymous that are not actual diagnoses that your doctor would give you, for example. These are not common modern scientific things. These are literally language that has come out of either Bill Wilson's best ideas from the 1930s or out of church basements, things that were just parroted long enough until they became part of the culture. So you'll hear things like, you're in your head again, or the neighborhood in your head is not a safe place to go around. You can't trust your thinking. That's your disease talking. Diseases don't talk, by the way. We know that, right? That diseases don't talk. There is no disease living in your head. And there also is no disease in the parking lot doing push-ups. I laugh because I know addiction is very serious. But this idea that we have a disease that talks in our head and that we can't trust our thinking is high control at its worst. It's bullshit. It's a full-blown cult tactic. So you're not drinking, but you're acting like an alcoholic. That's another thing that they talk about. So that's a dry drunk. So somehow you can be acting dry or a dry drunk when you're sober, when you're not actually drinking. To me, you're either drunk or you're sober, or maybe you're buzzed. There's a spectrum. If you're drinking a little bit, you're on your way between sober and drunk. This idea that you're not sober, if you're literally, I don't know how to say this where it makes sense, but if there's no alcohol in your system, that maybe you're not sober because of the way that you're acting or behaving is complete bullshit. It's like crazy town to make it sound like that it's possible to not be sober when you're actually sober because of your thinking or your behavior or your way of being or whatever you're doing. It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, it's one of AA's favorite ways to shame us and to further lock us into the system with their loaded language. In general, in my experience, is a culture of encouraging us to not trust our thinking. There's all this talk about you can't trust your first thought, or your best thinking got you here, or it's alcoholic thinking, untreated alcoholism, all of this stuff. The culture in the meetings that I went to, and I was in different programs around the world for large periods of time. In fact, the majority of my sobriety was overseas in a developing country. So I was in all sorts of meetings, and the culture is that you can't trust your thinking. That's said again and again and again. And it's a great way to control you. You have to trust your sponsor's thinking, the group's thinking, the book's thinking, something else. Other than yourself, you have to ask your higher power for permission to fucking think, or what to think, or what to do, or when to do it. So it's all this dependency out of you. They crack our agency, and our power gets like knocked out of us. It's sad. 3, slogans replace insight. Part of loaded language within Alcoholics Anonymous is how slogans can replace insight. So one day at a time, by the way, while that's not always bad advice, it was often told to me in a way where I wasn't supposed to plan my future. I wasn't supposed to be thinking about what is my 6-month plan, my 1-year plan, my 5-year plan. Just one day at a time, keep it simple. So that's actually making a dent in what I'm actually capable of. That's taking away some of my agency for my future and what I want for myself in my life. But AA wants us trapped in their system, free laboring for them so they can perpetuate their book sales and their program. And you gotta show up every day, do the steps, sponsor people. Don't get ahead of yourself, just one day at a time, just go to a meeting tomorrow. Another one of AA's favorites is let go and let God. If that's not dismissive as fuck, I don't know what is. Keep it simple. Okay. Yeah, stop thinking, just keep it simple. That's great. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person will die. I often heard that in Alcoholics Anonymous. One of my favorite ways that the AA dogma defenders, those possessed by AA's ideology who are coming at me in the comments on my YouTube channel, they say, you sound resentful. Some of them say you sound drunk, which I think is fucking hilarious. Like trying to say that I'm drunk, therefore don't listen to me, or I'm discredited because of that. That's like ridiculous. But the one that's my favorite is you sound resentful. I'm like, okay, that is so loaded language AA code. First of all, we're allowed to be fucking resentful. Literally, it's not a problem to have every feeling in the world. Why is it not a problem? Because it's reality. If you have a problem with reality, that resentment is a natural human experience, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you do need a church basement. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. So yeah, that's one of my favorite ones, is to say that I'm obviously resentful about AA. And actually, I'm not resentful about AA. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to defend myself on that. It literally doesn't matter how I feel about AA. That has nothing to do with the fact of what I'm saying. I've been gone from AA for 5 years, right? I was in AA for 10 years. I left 5 years ago. One of their favorite things now is you're resentful. What the fuck does that even mean? Why would it even matter if I was? All that's doing is it's loaded language to discount what I'm saying and to distract from the facts of what I'm saying, because their cognitive dissonance cannot handle that they are possessed by an ideology that is literally nonsensical hogwashery from the 1930s from a salesman. They're literally obsessed with a sales book as if it's a god. So that's fine. If it works for you, go do it. Go do your thing. I am not here to convince anybody to not be an Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm here to hopefully validate folks who have already left AA so that you know that it's okay to trust yourself. We should be allowed to trust ourselves. That should be the primary message anywhere. Fake it till you make it. It works if you work it. Okay, so it works if you work it. The reason why it works if you work it is highly problematic is because it puts all of the blame on AA not working on you, on the individual. They shame you and blame you. If it doesn't work, it's you. If it works, AA gets the credit. We're saving lives here. So if your life is saved, it's because of AA. But if you unalive yourself, it's because you didn't work the program. It's because that person who unalived themselves didn't work the program. It's brutal, but if you're going to claim that you save lives, you have to claim that you've taken lives too. Because, God, it's hard to say it just so matter of fact. Because I just think about the people who are no longer alive. It works if you work it is incredibly problematic. No, that's not true. And if AA saves lives, AA takes lives. You have to claim both. You have to claim both. It's not fair. Rest in peace to all of the people that me and you, that we both know, who unalive themselves in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous while being misguided, coerced into self-diagnosing as an alcoholic, which is not even a diagnosis. It's loaded language from Bill's Best Ideas from the 1930s, and brainwashed into the baloney that is happening inside the church basements. 4, shame and shutdown. AA loves using loaded language to shame and shut down people. So you're in denial if you disagree with anything. If you think about leaving AA or you doubt the program, you are in denial. That is your disease talking. If you have boundaries, it's because you're not willing. Are you willing to go to any length? Are you willing to answer the phone in the middle of the night, drive way across town? I used to drive way across town to my sponsor's house and she wouldn't always even be home. That was so annoying because she would forget. She would literally forget that I was coming to her house. And so I've driven like 30 minutes to her house and she's not home. But I was a good AA. I would sit in the car and like I'd read the big book or read the 12 and 12 and still do that hour of my sobriety and then drive home. But that was annoying. It was so annoying. But I was supposed to be willing to go to any lengths. They say, well, how many lengths did you go for your drinking? You have to be willing to go to any lengths for your sobriety. I understand the concept of putting sobriety ahead of things that might create a relapse. And also, you're not willing is incredibly manipulative. Why are we supposed to be willing to do everything? Why should I be willing to drive across the town if you're not even going to be at your house? Why should I be willing to do things that compromise my inner compass? I shouldn't have to be willing to do that. Nobody should ask us to compromise against our inner compass. Or what about if you put your needs first and they call you selfish? I love that one. You're selfish. Well, actually, yes, we should be taking care of ourselves first in a lot of ways and a lot of the time. It doesn't mean that we're selfish. It's actually smart to take care of yourself. It makes me think about in AA how I was told I always have to say yes to AA no matter what. And then when I left AA, I thought about all the times that I said yes to AA when it was a violation of my boundary. And if I hesitated, I would be reminded that I was selfish. And I didn't want to, God forbid, be selfish, right? And so it's just so manipulative to have boundaries or put yourself first or say no to some sort of commitment within AA, whether it is speaking or service commitment or sponsoring a specific person or doing anything within AA and being called selfish as if that's a bad thing and as if that is our disease and that's going to take us out and kill us, basically. So if you are selfish, you are going to die is an underlying message a lot of the times with a lot of what I heard in the loaded language inside Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you express agency, you are playing God. Do not play God. But your sponsor can say things are God's will that are really terrible as a spiritual bypass. Maybe you saw my video about how my sponsor told me that there was a predator in the room when I complained about his predatory behavior that he specifically did to one of my friends. I was told that was God's will. That might be how God is getting and keeping people sober, and that I need to keep my mind on my own side of the street and don't play God. Get out of their business, get into your own business. And that's ridiculous. That is co-signing abuse. That is silencing me. And I regret that I didn't speak louder about that or to somebody else that could hear me. But I was told to trust my sponsor, and I believed it. I was a good little AA. I believed that it was all true. And now, of course, I can see that it's all ridiculous. It's all made up. It's a sales letter. It's a sales pitch. And at this point, I can say Bill was a great salesman because I was sold. I was sold. I was in deep. 5, language that discredits outsiders. So AA uses loaded language to discredit outsiders. This might sound like they're normies or making fun of or discouraging getting help from somebody who's not a real alcoholic because they won't get it. So don't get to a therapist or a psychiatrist or a doctor or get off your meds or any of the other baloney and criminal behavior that happens inside Alcoholics Anonymous because they just don't get it. They're not going to get it. It's a blanket statement about anybody who is not one of us won't get it. Only one alcoholic can help another. Nobody else can. Now, there is an empathy that maybe you won't have if you don't have the same experience as somebody else. But that doesn't mean that you can't help somebody else if you haven't had that direct experience. That's complete baloney. When AA discredits outsiders, it is giving a us versus them mentality. That was exactly my experience inside Alcoholics Anonymous. It really was us versus them. We were the ones who knew the right path to sobriety. In fact, not even the right path, not even the right recovery path, but the only recovery path. The only path to recovery that works is Alcoholics Anonymous. That is what I was indoctrinated deep with. And then that's what I turned around and indoctrinated others into. So I am to blame here. I did this. And so consider this right here, my living amends to anybody who I hogwashed, mind-washed, baloneyed into this bullshit. Let me tell you right now, it's not true. It is not the only path to sobriety. In fact, if I can go back and tell my 2009 self a little memo, it would be never go to Alcoholics Anonymous. It is harmful, dangerous. It's going to fuck your mind up and you don't need that. Hire a therapist. Do not believe what they say, whether it's culture, Hollywood, media, or anybody who has been indoctrinated, which is a lot of people, into Alcoholics Anonymous as it's the only way. Run, run, do not go to AA. That's what I would tell my former self. Now, I'm not necessarily upset about it. I can't go back and do that, right? So I'm not trying to change the past, but if I could give myself advice in the past, or I could give somebody advice right now, it would be don't go to Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't want to get stuck in that. It's a mind fuck. It's not free. It's going to fuck your mind up. It's going to lower your self-esteem. It's going to lower your self-worth. It's going to lower your confidence. It's going to make you dependent on outside things in very subtle ways that you're not going to realize that you're completely undermining yourself because that's the fucking culture. And you're going to have to deal with a lot of bullshit in the room, like the predators or the predatory behavior of your own sponsor because of what they're saying to you. And then you are supposed to have this blind obedience to them. People say there's no leader in AA. The leader in AA is your fucking sponsor, for sure. It's this whole hierarchy all the way up. And so Yeah, the people with more time are treated as godlike people in a way inside Alcoholics Anonymous because they have all this sobriety. They must know better. No, they don't. No, no, no. You can trust yourself over anybody else. You can trust yourself. 6, feelings aren't facts. Another way Alcoholics Anonymous loves the feelings aren't facts as part of their loaded language. So if you say, I feel manipulated, they'll say, feelings aren't facts. That's a great way to shut you down. This feelings aren't facts is the ultimate emotional gaslight. It is used to weaponize or to erase valid emotional insight. Have you been told that? Feelings aren't facts? I actually had a boyfriend in Alcoholics Anonymous, and he would constantly say that to me. I'm having a memory come back. Actually, he was, maybe that's another story for another time. He would always tell me my feelings aren't facts while he was doing all the things that he was doing, which I had insight into because my body was giving me messages because humans can feel things. We can tell when people are lying and manipulating us. And he, who was in AA with like 24 years of sobriety or something, would tell me feelings aren't facts. Okay, anybody in AA, not just my ex-boyfriend. This is not a rant about him. It's the common thing throughout Alcoholics Anonymous. Feelings aren't facts. But the fact is, I'm having a feeling, and there might be some information here. There might be something for me to process. There might be something going on. Just to shut it down, use this loaded language just to shut people down, it's not cool. No, I'm always going to have feelings. People say, like, resentment's the number one offender, or you sound resentful, or you shouldn't be resentful. Okay, and I shouldn't have gravity affect me either? Like, what are you saying? I shouldn't be on the earth rotating around the sun? Like, hello, humans have feelings. That's a fact. The fact is, humans have feelings. Tomorrow, we are going to dive into part 7 in our 8-part series, How AA Controls Your Mind, and it's going to be on doctrine over person. If you would like to take this work further, I would be happy to guide you through my online course. It is called Deprogram. It's about unfucking your mind from Alcoholics Anonymous. I will link it below, so go ahead and have a look-see if that interests you. I have a lot of fun stuff under this video, so you can check the free stuff, you can check paid online courses. Please join the conversation in the comments. The other commenters love reading what you write, and I love reading it too, so I look forward to seeing you in the comments and hearing your thoughts. Did you experience this? Did you relate to anything in here? Was this also something that you saw in Alcoholics Anonymous? What do you think? We would love to know. All right, take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.